Hey guys, MichaelBtheGameGenie here. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Today, for the first time in a little while, we had some really exciting Arcade1Up news, as the Deluxe Cabs were officially announced by Arcade1Up, available at Best Buy. On top of that, we had another episode of Arcade1UpDate where we got more details on the release of the Deluxe Cabs. We also found out one cab that we thought was coming out is potentially cancelled, and then an absolute bombshell at the end with a product announcement that leaves a lot of people guessing what are the blanked out cabs. We're going to tell you more about all of this right after this. So that's right guys, in today's video we're talking all about Arcade1UpDate Episode 4, my reaction to it, and of course the official launch of the Deluxe line of cabs, available only at Best Buy. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you so very much for watching guys. I always appreciate the support, and if this is your first time to the channel, you like what you see, go ahead, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and all that YouTube stuff. So guys, after an extremely long time of waiting for these cabs to be released at retail to the public, after the initial announcement at CES, of course we had the fake soft launch from the stolen cabs, and then last week people were able to go into Best Buy and pick these up in store. They're now officially announced by Arcade1Up as available, and available to order online through bestbuy.com. So guys, if you go to the Arcade1Up website, you will finally notice a change. The Deluxe cabinets, the three we knew were coming out right now, are up on the website stating they are available now. But if you scroll down, you will notice there's a logo there that says Best Buy. And when you go in, Deluxe arcades have arrived. You cannot order direct through the website. It says order at Best Buy. And then, of course, when you go in, you'll be taking, well, if you're not in Canada, you'll be taken to a page like this, but it'll take you directly to the Best Buy website where you can order these arcades. So it looks like early, these are going to be a Best Buy only exclusive in the US. Availability in other countries, even in the rest of North America, such as Canada, is still up for debate. So that was the news that first announced this morning. They went up on Best Buy before there was any official announcement through Arcade1Up. Shortly after that, a notification went out on the app saying the cabinets were now available, and Arcade1Up sent out an email blast to their subscribers as well. You guys may be aware I did a Chill and Chat episode last night where I did bring up the fact that this launch for the Deluxe line has been a bit of a cluster where Best Buy had the cabinets available. There has been no word from Arcade1Up on what the official stance is. Are they a Best Buy exclusive? Why are they not available online? I was pretty critical of that. Of course, if I had waited one day, the next day there was a new episode of Arcade1UpDate that tried to answer some of those questions for us. Of course, timing is always an important factor, and on the day of the official launch, Arcade1UpDate was back with Travis, and of course, welcome back David McIntosh, complete with a new haircut, and they gave us the skinny on what was happening with these cabs, once again iterating that P-Dub's Arcade Loft was responsible for stealing the initial shipment, and then stating that they apologized for the launch at Best Buy, but the launch was officially for today. They couldn't really control what the retailer was doing. They didn't want to stop the retailer from selling them early, so the cabs were out, but today is the official launch. So again, thank you very much, Arcade1Up. This is definitely, again, a step in the right direction in terms of transparency, communicating with your audience. It would have been great if there was a little bit of a heads up on it. I mean, obviously, we always want to have this information early instead of later, but the fact that you did come out and address what was going on with the Deluxe cabs was greatly appreciated. I still don't feel on the show that we got a lot of answers in regards to, so is this cabinet a Best Buy exclusive? Is it going to be available at other retailers? Are you going to make it available directly through your site? Because if so, people in Canada can access them through your site, even though they're not going to be available at retail here right away. So even though they did address it, there was still some questions left unanswered. I tried as much as I could to kind of poke it in the chat, but not everything got through, unfortunately. I guess they can only answer so many questions. For those that did tune into my episode last night, we did talk about what the lineup for Arcade1Up in 2023 would look like, and they did address another thing that I brought up during that show was the existence of the Miss Pac-Man Deluxe Cab that was initially advertised for CES 2023. We thought we were getting 4 Deluxe Cabs at launch: Pac-Man, Class of 81, Mortal Kombat, and of course Miss Pac-Man. So even though last night in my episode I did say that even though Miss Pac-Man wasn't one of the 3 available cabs right now, it would eventually come out. Just like last year, there was a later wave of legacy cabs with a Capcom and a Miss Pac-Man that came out. I said expect the exact same thing to happen again this year. However, on Arcade1UpDate today, David McIntosh himself did confirm that while looking at the initial 4 cabinets being launched, they felt there was some saturation with the release of both a Class of 81 and a Miss Pac-Man cab. So what they decided to do was to eliminate one of the cabs. They thought that the Class of 81 had a better game lineup and maybe a better appeal ability to the user base, so they decided to move forward with the Class of 81 Deluxe Cab, and the Miss Pac-Man cab at this time has been canceled. John D then chimed in and said hopefully it's not canceled altogether. Hopefully it's something that could be brought up again at a later date. Now, me personally, I'm incredibly disappointed by that decision. I've been pretty vocal about it. Class of 81 is a cabinet I have never bought. To me, even though some people love it, it doesn't really bring me the nostalgia vibes of the original arcade. I think of Class of 81 more of something that was, you know, the 20-year anniversary cab. I would see it at bowling alleys and I would see it at swimming pools. It's not something I would see in the arcade, and I don't like the half and half art. That's just my personal preference. I was really excited about the possibility of a Miss Pac-Man cab, so it does break my heart a little bit that, you know, it's not going to be a possibility. So it really sucks that Miss Pac-Man in the deluxe line is canceled. I was wrong about my lineup stuff last night, and it looks like hopefully one day in the future, maybe not this year, maybe next year, we will in fact get a Miss Pac-Man Deluxe going forward. Now, I do think it was a funny coincidence John D was wearing this Mortal Kombat shirt. I do think that this is something they planned on talking about, and I'm glad they did talk about it. I talked it on my show last night as well. You'll always see people stop in with the free MK4 movement. Just about on every show, they'll put in free MK4. Zohar is always jumping into shows and saying it. So they did bring up the fact that Ed Boon did share this on his own post, saying Arcade1Up should make a Mortal Kombat 4 cabinet. And I alluded to it last night that I don't think it's a licensing issue. I think it's a development issue, and for Arcade1Up to go back, redevelop the game, get it to work on the chipset that they have on one of their commercial emulators, and then make it so it's online compatible, was an expensive proposition, and they kind of said that. I put a question in there, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, is there enough of a return on investment for the money they would have to put in to develop their own commercial emulator and, you know, make this work on their chipset, plus with all the online features, compared to the return on investment? How many people would potentially buy a Mortal Kombat 4 cab, or how much added value would it bring to an MK collection cab? I don't know what the cost factor is. Obviously, I don't work in this industry, but I have to think that long term, they're going to have an evergreen product where they release Mortal Kombat 4 each year. It just makes Mortal Kombat, sorry, not Mortal Kombat 4. It just makes sense that you would, in fact, you know, utilize the resources to make Mortal Kombat 4 a reality on Arcade1Up, so you have another bullet in the gun or another tool in the chest that you could put forward to support this evergreen product going out each year. So they did address it. No promises were made. John D gave a great explanation for why it's so hard to get it working. Hopefully it's still a reality. We'll see if they come through and do it. So during the show, a return to form from previous shows, they did ask some of the live viewers, put some questions forward they would try to answer during the show. We got a couple really good questions, and this is one of my favorite ones asking here because you know I'm a big advocate for Arcade1Up focusing more on 80s games, moving away from the last couple of years where it's been all about 90s, late 90s, and going with more modern games. I mean, most of us arcade collectors and arcade enthusiasts really dig those 80 days, so we want to see more 80s titles from Arcade1Up, and especially new ones, not retreads of cabs that have come out before. So I had mentioned in my stream last night that I thought that the 80s cab coming out this year, they were saying was a new IP. However, I thought it was possibly going to be a Defender variant. Turns out I may have been wrong. So shout out to Jason for asking this question here on Arcade1UpDate. Give us a hint on the new 80s title coming out this year. What year did the real cab come out? Now, of course, they couldn't give a straightforward answer, but they did say this is a title that's never been released before. So my Defender theory was wrong, and going back and looking at all the other 80s titles, this is not going to be a retread. Ladies and gentlemen, take off your hats. It's time to friggin' celebrate. We're getting a brand new 80s classic arcade coming out in 2023 from Arcade1Up. Another really good question came up. Seeing how this is the official launch date of the Deluxe Cabs in the US, I have already done a video on this. We have no idea when the cabinets will be available here in Canada. The information I've been given so far is expect them to be available in, June, July, August, somewhere in that territory. However, this question was asked again on the stream tonight, and David McIntosh gave us a very interesting answer. So Lang's Chris, great guy, asked the question, seconded, Canadian release dates for the Deluxe Cabs, please. And while there's no official date right now, David McIntosh did state this is something that he personally is working on. He's Canadian himself, and he's looking into it. So what he did say, he's working hard with the Canadian distributor, which is someone I know as well. He alluded to that I know this individual as well. So he's working with them. Hopefully, he said it looks like they may be available within 45 days of the US launch. Hopefully that's true. Last year, we had a long waiting period after some of the legacy cabs hit US soils. We didn't get them for 4 to 5 months. Hopefully, it's a different situation with these Deluxe Cabs, and we get them within the 45 days would be amazing, sooner rather than later. Now, towards the end of the episode itself, we actually got some really big news and information. If you're looking for more news directly from the source, from Arcade1Up, we got some updates about the next upcoming shows. Specifically, we found out the next episode of Arcade1UpDate would be occurring on April 13th, 2023. So, basically in a little less than 2 weeks, we're getting another episode of Arcade1UpDate. And the question is, what are they going to cover on this show? Is it going to be a new release? Well, no, it's not going to be a new release. At least it shouldn't be, because then we got an even bigger bombshell announcement in seconds after this. As everybody was getting ready to depart, as they were saying their goodbyes, Travis broke out the one more thing saying, which I'm sure I've heard from another company somewhere. But Travis said one more thing, and then he said, this is what we're going to leave you with to kind of blow your minds. And that's when we were hit with this screen, the return of that 1UP show. Now, this show has been on hiatus ever since we found out that Liv from Arcade1Up was no longer with the company. As you guys know, Liv was previously the host of that 1UP show. So automatically, there's going to be questions there. Who's going to take over? They've been pushing really hard in the last couple that 1UpDate shows to introduce this new guy, J-Lo, their new marketing person. Maybe he will be involved as the, new Liv or talking voice for this show, Get Loud with J-Lo. So anyways, we found out the return of that 1UP show and new product to release. And there's a lot to unpack here in this picture, because if you've been watching that 1UP shows in the past, or any kind of announcement from Arcade1Up, they put up a silhouette, and guess what, people? The silhouettes are in fact the cabs. People would have been able to take out the image of KI Pro and match it with the silhouette. So the images we're seeing on screen may truly be representative of real cabinets coming out from Arcade1Up. And if you take a look at the screen, it looks like on April 20th, 4/20, which is an interesting day for some reason. Can't quite put my mind on it right now, but it looks like there's 4 new products going to be announced from Arcade1Up. So I just wanted to go full screen with this and take a close look at the 4 cabs. And what I want to do now is kind of play spoiler a little bit and pick them out. So let's go right to left. And this one's going to be a little bit tricky, but not too tricky. And I'm sorry, Arcade1Up, I'm doing this, but it's pretty straight. It might be pretty straightforward. Of course, I can always be wrong. I'm just an idiot on the internet. So first off, let's take a look at the cabinet on the far right. So guys, if you're a Replicate fan from New Wave Toys, this cabinet should be relatively familiar to you. This is one of the cabinets, apparently, I mentioned on my stream last night as coming from Arcade1Up this calendar year. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Arcade1Up with this year's Atari Legacy Cab, or Deluxe Cab. Like I said, it looks like it's going to be Missile Command. For those of you not familiar, take a look at the side profile when it comes up here. Take a look at the picture from Arcade1Up. This looks like it's going to be a replica of the original Missile Command cabinet done in the 3/4 deluxe style by Arcade1Up. So I'm not even going to hazard another guess there. Missile Command has a pretty unique form factor. That cabinet right there on the far right is Missile Command. What about the next cabinet right next to it? If you're a classic Williams fan, that cabinet shape should look very familiar. And I'm trying my best here now to hold back my emotions because there's a possibility I may finally be getting my wish. So I think it's been pretty clear for the last 2 years. I've been talking about one specific arcade that I think is a grail for most real arcade collectors in their homes, and one that I thought was essential for Arcade1Up to make. And it was my #1 most requested game. And I'm looking at this silhouette and I'm saying, maybe there's a chance, just maybe. So guys, as you can see on screen, it's a flyer for what, in my opinion, is one of the best, if not the very best, arcade game of all time, the twin-stick Williams classic Robotron Robert Ron 2084. And if you take a look at the form factor of this cab, that is an identical match for the cabinet that is the second from the right on the teaser thumbnail for 1UpDate. So, you know, I'm trying not to get too excited because it might be Robotron 2084. Now, it could also be Smash TV. I think Smash TV has a pretty similar cabinet shape. But there's also an outside chance that it might not be any of those cabs, and Robotron, whether it be a Smash TV cab or a dedicated cab, may not even be in the discussion here because it might be something otherwise. It might be something else altogether. So another Williams title that has previously been on another Arcade1Up cabinet, not really a cabinet, it was on the Defender Partycade, and it was also on the Mortal Kombat Midway cocktail table. You could play Sinistar, but they've never had a dedicated cab. So this is a property they already have, and you can never play it right, because if you look on the cabinet, which has the exact same form factor as the image on screen, and, you know, pretty much has the exact same form factor as Robotron, you will notice there's only one joystick there, and that is, in fact, a 49-way joystick. And guess what? Arcade1Up just manufactured and developed was 49-way sticks for NFL Blitz. So now they have these 49-way sticks. They have an economy of scale. I know I'm getting that wrong, but they already have the parts. They have the knowledge to do it right. Now they can do a proper Sinistar. Now, of course, I would be heartbroken, but Sinistar is a pretty badass game. I know all those guys, the Outsiders, you know, UAG, I know Console Kits loves it. I know Retro Ralph, he's even not in the home arcade scene anymore, but he's friends with those guys, and he loves Sinistar too. They're all friends with John D, so maybe this is something those guys are interested in. It's a possibility. It's not Robotron after all, and it's Sinistar, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'll be brokenhearted, but Maybe it's Sinister. Now, the second one from the left, the one in the middle, I'm just going to be straight out with you guys. I have absolutely no friggin' clue what this could possibly be. I mean, I would be absolutely flummoxed if Fast and the Furious or Time Crisis wasn't announced during the show, but it doesn't look like that cabinet. I have no idea what this cabinet could be. The only thing I do notice is that arch down on top looks an awful lot like Star Wars, but it doesn't fit. So I don't know what that cabinet is. Of course, I think there's a possibility we might see Fast and Furious announced here. We might see Time Crisis. None of them meet that picture, but I'm going to leave it to you guys. What do you think the second cabinet over from the left actually is? Because I don't know, but I do know what the cabinet next to it is, and it might be our first XL or Pro cabinet of the year. So guys, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I was a little bit confused by this one at first because I was looking at it and I was like, it looks a lot like the Pac-Mania cab from the Legacy line, or maybe it's a Dig Dug cab, just because of the way the control panel was. And then it sunk in. What haven't we seen from Arcade1Up this year? When they do their Legacy line, which is their Deluxe line now, there's always a Capcom cabinet, but there's no Capcom cabinet. Is it because it's going to come out at a later date like they did with Yoga Flame and Shinko Hadouken? Or is it because it's going to be this year's Pro or XL cabinet? So guys, I'm not saying that it's going to have this specific artwork because I think they'll go back to the CE style, even though I think this is a prettier looking cab, to be honest. Street Fighter 2 in the XL or Pro, and if you look down, the giveaway is kind of the control panel where it comes out there. Maybe it's not an exact match, but I think a Street Fighter 2 Dynamo cab would be absolutely badass. I mean, they could go with a Z-back as well, which looks pretty similar, but a Street Fighter 2, either CE or Street Fighter 2, this version in a XL or Pro format is my guess for the last cabinet. So guys, that's my look at Arcade1Up Update Episode 4. I really, while I was watching it, didn't think there was all that much information. They just kind of, clarified some things about the launch of the Deluxe cabinets. Of course, we also got some information on the Canadian release date. And of course, we got some other information on the difficulties and why it's complex for them to release Mortal Kombat 4. But my God, that ending and showing that image of the 4 new cabinets and the new releases coming this year made this show super exciting. I know it's only a little tiny bit of information, but it's that possibility of what's next and being able to look at those images and do just what I did right here. Search the internet and go by your mindset and memory of what arcade cabinets there, tied in perfectly with the show I did last night about their lineup for this year. Some of the things looks like they're coming to fruition. Looks like we're getting an Atari Legacy Missile Command cabinet. It also looks like we're potentially getting a Pro or XL big cabinet based on one of their most popular franchises, which, as I said last night, was either Bandai Namco, like a Pac-Man title, Mortal Kombat, or potentially Street Fighter, which it looks to be Street Fighter. Of course, there is that cab in the middle that I find to be a mystery. Then the next one to it, please be Robotron, but it could also be either Smash TV or Sinister. Whatever, it certainly looks like a Williams cab. So guys, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of Arcade1 Update Episode 4? In my opinion, another strong episode from Travis, MCP, David McIntosh. John came on, gave some awesome information in this, and was a perfect foil to the great mix of David and Travis already. Another really good and strong episode, and definitely a bounce back from what I thought was kind of a down episode with episode 3. Also, what do you think of those announcements about the new products? Take a look at those silhouettes of these cabs. Let me know, do you agree with me? Do you agree Missile Command, Williams, Sinister, or Robotron? Then, of course, a Street Fighter Dynamo cab. Let me know what your thoughts are on the 4 silhouettes in the comments down below. Anyways, guys, I want to say again, thank you so very much for watching this video. This is Michael B. the Game Genie. I'll talk to you guys next time.